In Fortnite Chapter 4, reality augments have been added, and these are basically just perks that you can obtain throughout the game. There are some of these that are absolutely unbelievably broken, like being able to always see where the next zone is. I'm going to rank them from worst to best, tell you everything you need to know about each one of them, and which ones you should specifically look out for. The first game you load in, you'll have some sort of quest line going on in your ear, and you basically just have to survive long enough to be able to actually unlock these. I did not. The first pop-up, you'll be able to choose between two different ones. Now, they are randomly generated. The first ones I got here were the pistol amp, where pistols have greatly increased magazine size, and then supercharged, where vehicles when you're inside of do not consume fuel and have increased health. Now, you'll notice at the bottom there's a reroll feature, and then it says free next to it. So what does that mean? Well, these two are randomly generated. In every game, you're going to get different perks that you can choose from. I should say reality augments, as it's the real name. And you're going to have the option to reroll these and get two different ones that you could choose from. The first time you do this will be completely free in the game, and that's every single match it will be free, but everyone after that will be 100 gold. So in pubs, there shouldn't be much of an issue because you can always get a bunch of gold. However, when it comes to competitive, gold is very difficult to come by, so I'm not sure you're going to be able to reroll frequently enough after you've used this one free reroll. Now, you notice at the top that there's 4 different squares up here, and that's because you can hold 4 perks total. So after you've chosen through this first reality augment, you'll have 3 other times throughout the match where you're going to be able to pick 3 other randomly generated augments. So 4 total. Hope that makes sense. That first pop-up is going to appear 2.5 minutes after that cool new battle bus animation is started. So essentially you're going to get the first one at 2.5 minutes, then the second one at 5 minutes, the third one at 7.5, and then the final one at 10 minutes. So 10 minutes past the first battle bus animation, you're going to have had at least the option to pick all 4 of these new perks. After that first game, I had around 12, so you just got to keep playing and eventually you'll unlock all of them that you can actually use. Some of these are super busted, but there's 22 in total, so let's start the worst and make our way up to the best. Alright, the bottom of the barrel, in my opinion, rushing reload. Sprinting will slowly reload your equipped shotgun. I don't want to say there are no uses for this, but there are no good uses for this. Party time. Gain balloons over time. Now, there may be some interesting balloon strats, maybe a single balloon strategy going on somewhere, but I just don't see me picking this or any high-level competitive player picking this, again, unless there's some really secret niche strategy that I'm not thinking of yet. More parkour. Your energy regenerates briefly after mantling or hurdling. This is cool. It might be useful for zero build if you're running around POIs and you need to loot, so if it's one of the first options, you may be able to pick this. But again, not that useful. Tactical Armory grants a rare tactical AR and combat shotgun. Now, the tactical AR and combat shotgun are both quite weak. Remember, the combat was heavily nerfed. It's nowhere near like it was in Chapter 1. And remembering that you'll get this about 2.5 minutes into the game, hopefully you probably would have had something else at that point. So in my eyes, you know, you're probably not going to pick this, or you're just like sitting in a bush for the whole game and you just want free loot. But then you're sitting in a bush hoping you get this perk when it's RNG. Probably not worth taking. Pistol amp. Pistols have greatly increased magazine size. This is cool, and ultimately the pistol this season seems really strong, but again, no one really mains a pistol. So if they do start maining pistols, if this season is somehow the meta, even though the ARs are very strong, I just don't see this being much use. Soaring Sprints. Jump much higher and with lower gravity while sprinting. Now, I definitely could see this having some uses in endgame and for looting faster in early game potential. But ultimately, again, I feel like a lot of the other perks and the other reality augments, I should say the proper name, come on, are just better, ultimately, and I just don't think you would end up choosing this. Bow Specialist. Bows draw faster and reload faster, and you regenerate arrows over time. Now, this is probably one of the first ones that I think this actually has some good potential, because there's no snipers, there's just bows, and there's also the DMR, the marksman rifle in here too. So for long range, bows are probably going to be quite common and well used, I would suggest. So the ability to draw your bow a little bit quicker and reload faster, and the fact that you're going to regenerate arrows over time, so essentially have infinite ammo, means that this will actually be quite useful, in particular in a competitive mode where ammo is really important. Next one above that is Rifle Recycle. Weapons using medium ammo will have a chance to not consume ammo. Again, this is fantastic, I would say predominantly for competitive, as it allows smaller looting paths to be a little bit more viable. The biggest issue with a lot of these smaller looting paths is that you just run out of ammo. You know, you might get 2 or 3 ammo crates, and you're just not enough to play a full tournament. This one, in my eyes, definitely something I would look to pick if you don't have a better option. Supercharged. Vehicles you're inside do not consume fuel and have increased health. Now, this is really useful, of course, if you're just trying to make long distance rotates, but I will also say this is not in competitive. So for competitive, ignore this one, but this one actually is pretty useful. Tricked Out. Entering a car or truck applies chonkers and cow catchers to it. This and Supercharged are the two that are not in competitive. However, again, this would be useful for pubs, but it's, in my opinion, it's just not that relevant since, you know, this is mainly a comp channel. Demolitions Munitions. Objects you destroy have a chance to drop explosives. Excludes player-built structures. Now, I tested this earlier, and it says it has a chance to drop explosives, but it seemed like every single time I broke a tree, broke a wall, I would either get rockets or grenades. This is so powerful. Now, again, I've got this lower down on the list because I don't see this staying in competitive. Rocket launchers, same thing with grenades, are always taken out, so I think this will just be in there temporarily. But this thing is unbelievably strong if you have a rocket launcher because you can essentially just have infinite ammo. Bloodhound. Enemies hit by your marksman rifle or bow shots are marked for a brief duration. Now this, in my eyes, I see has a little bit of a good utility when it comes to W keying. So what you would do is essentially you'd be in a medium range, hit someone with the bow shot, and that would make them box up, and you'd be easily able to track where they are through their builds if they're boxed or not. So that's kind of how you open a really aggressive fight. You sneak up, bow them, they're tagged, it's really easy to see if they're trying to run away or where they go. First Assault. The first bullet in the magazine of your assault rifle deals bonus damage. Now, I tested this out and I couldn't quite figure out what percentage of damage increase this was, so let me know down below in the comments if you've actually figured this one out by the time this video is uploaded. In my eyes, this is really great for comp, and it's also very, very rewarding. So of course, that first shot in your magazine, if you're using the regular assault rifle or one of the other assault rifles that's in the game, say it does 50% more damage, just as an example. That means that you benefit a lot for taking your time, making sure you hit that first shot and don't just spam and drain that ammo away, because it's going to give you more damage onto the players, but of course also it's going to give you more storm surge damage for long range tags. And this is actually going to make the Red Eye assault rifle, which is kind of like the MK7 from Chapter 3 Season 1, because the gold variation does 40 body shot and 66 headshot damage. So if you up the damage of the first shot of this, then you're definitely going to have a very powerful storm surge weapon. Bush Warrior. You regenerate health and partial shields while inside large foliage. This is made for my historic solo cash cup runs. Now, I thought this was quite useless to start with, but then I actually tried it in tournament. Unfortunately, I don't have a clip of it, and the theory for this is really useful because it's a passive effect. So say this popped up as your first reality augment you could use on rotation. Say if you're sitting in a competitive game again when it's a high level environment and you just sit in a bush, well, you can just gain free HP and shield in that, and you don't have to waste any of your minis there at all. I think this will probably only take you up to 150 total HP. It says partial shields, so I'm guessing that only goes up to that. A Mechanical Archer. Receive an explosive and shockwave bow. Now, the shockwave bow in my memory was pretty mid in terms of how far the shockwaves actually fired you. It wasn't like proper shockwaves, but if this is in solo tournaments and this stays in, this could be really strong. And you gotta remember that I feel like a lot of players will be taking the bow in team modes anyway, so just being able to free upgrade that to either an explosive bow or a shockwave bow just to create a much more damage or to have extra mobility will be really, really good. Now that, you know, I've got this high up number 7, this might be a bit more useless, but just in the theory crafting, I could see the shockwave bow being really strong. Light Fingers. Weapon using light ammo reload faster. Now, you've got to imagine that this combined with the Twin Mag SMG will be pretty strong. Now, the SMG itself doesn't have that high of a DPS in comparison to a lot of the SMGs we've seen. Thank you, I appreciate Epic from learning. The highest is 260. Now that's still really high, but the magazine size is only 20. Now this thing reloads in 1.3 seconds, so that is very, very fast. However, with this perk, I'm not sure exactly how fast it'll reload, but you can almost have like an infinite spray using the combination of these two. And there's almost no chance if you're using this onto an opposing player that they're going to be able to heal, so it's infinite pressure. Aerialist. Gain the ability to deploy your glider. Now this is going to be awesome for solo tournaments because there is a lot of solo tournaments added if you've watched my short that I put on earlier today. Quite frankly, this is godly. Imagine in endgame you can just choose a good layer, be up high, and always use glider redeploy. You can never take fall damage either. Now, I'm not sure if it's infinite or if you just gain one into your inventory. I've not seen it in action yet, but if it's infinite, that's really powerful. If it's 10, that's more balanced in my opinion, and I kind of hope that it's an item that goes into your inventory rather than just being infinite. Storm Mark. When the storm changes, ping the area to highlight enemies nearby for a short duration. Now in my eyes, I see this as a really good way to figure out a rotational path. If you look ahead at where you need to go, the zone's just appeared. You can ping on the map and it'll show you exactly where the players are there. And this will give you an idea of how you can rotate that next zone. So this one's really cool and it could be very balanced in my opinion. The way I'm reading it is that you can potentially only use 1 ping per storm change. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I think that's going to be very balanced as long as the range isn't too long and the duration also is not too long. Splash Medic. You have a chance to find chug splashes in every container you open. What more can you say? Like, chug splashes defined the meta through a lot of Chapter 3, and being able to find them at any container you open is very powerful. Number 3, Jelly Angler. Receive a fishing rod, you can use it to fish anywhere, but you can only fish up jellyfish. Now you may think, what's so OP about this? Well, this is what's OP about this. There's so many situations you could do this in a high level competitive game, because all you need is some water next to you. It doesn't need to have any fishing spots at all. And even if you were going to rotate, you could fish so many and throw them ahead of you and then rotate onto that, assuming someone else doesn't steal it. This is one of the most broken reality augments out there, undoubtedly. Chug Gunner. Receive a Chug Cannon. This is tier 1. Tier 1. Chug Cannon is like the most OP, best heal in the game. It's infinite chug splashes. Sure, it does take up 2 inventory slots, but this is just like the best heal in the game and you're guaranteed it. Now, this will just go into your inventory, so you're going to have to drop a bunch of stuff. But again, this is undoubtedly the second best perk in the game. What possibly could be better than that? Well, number 1 is Forecast. You can always see the next storm circle. Like having an infinite storm scout sniper without using an inventory slot. This has to, and I mean has to, be removed from competitive. Remember, getting some of these perks is RNG, and having some players always being able to know where the next zone is in no way balanced at all. This essentially guarantees that you're going to get to endgame with good materials, and the mid game is the hardest part of every Fortnite match. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Keep an eye out for the channel this week. I'm going to be posting a bunch on the meta, all the new stuff. Of course, peace.